Blessed day, guys, and peace be upon this morning. So in this video, we're going to learn how to configure voice over IP dial peering. So what does this mean? Well, dial peering is kind of a routing for voice over IP. For example, when we want to call from a separate site, let's say this site has a line number of let's say extension or like 1000 that way, or 1001, any of the any of the voice over IP phones has this line number, and it wants to call another phone that is located far away, and it has a line number of that one. Okay, well, when we want to call from one format to another, remember this site has this format. Okay, let's say 1001, 102, 1002, etc, etc, and this site has this format 2001, 2002, etc, etc. So for us to call from those sites with different formats in terms of line numbers, then we have to configure what's called dial peering. All right, so the first step, configuring dial peering for VoIP. So the first step is always to do the necessary topology, decorate, and comment. So I'm trying to use a scenario whereby we have one site A is far away from site B, and they connect via an ISP. Okay, and we have a full network, both data and voice VLAN. So we have our computers on this side, computers on the other side. We want all the IP phones to be calling the IP phones on site B, all the PCs, all the computers to be pinging all the computers on the other side. So what do we do? Very, very simple. So the first thing we do, we embark on device we do what's called device selection. Okay, and for the selection of devices, it's very, very important to select the right devices. Okay, all right. So basically for the router, make sure you choose 2811 router, the voice gateway, because if you don't choose this one for Packet Tracer, it will not work. Okay, just make sure you choose 2811 router. 2960 switch is okay, standard switch. Then when coming to IP phones, just choose 7960 IP phone. Okay, all right. So the second thing that we do now, let's turn these IP phones up. You can see they don't have power adapters, so we just do it very, very fast. Just drag it and insert there. All right, so that's done. So our topology is complete, and you can see the data VLAN 10, the network is this one. Voice VLAN 11, the network is this one. On the other side, data VLAN 30, this network, and voice VLAN this one, this network. Okay, all right. So without any further ado, let's just go back to our notepad to proceed. Configure switch ports for both data and voice VLANs. Guys, being that we have both data and voice VLAN, then the switches each access port should be having both data and voice VLAN. So for example, this is FA0/2, FA0/3. Okay, so we just go here, just go there and say enable config T. So interface range FA0/2 to 3. Okay, sorry, to 3. Switch port mode access. Okay, then switch port. Oh, sorry, before that we need to create the VLANs. Okay, remember we have how many VLANs? 2 VLANs on this side, 10 and 11. So just say VLAN 10 name data, exit VLAN 11 name voice. Make sure the namings are in caps, the names, but I can see I made a error here, so I can just go to VLAN 10 and say it's data. Yes, exit, do show VLAN. You can see 10 and 11. Okay, all right. So we can just go back to those interfaces. Interface range now. FA0/2 to 3. Switch port mode access. then switch port access VLAN 10 for data. Okay, then switch port voice VLAN 11 for voice VLAN. Okay, exit and do right. And let's not forget, because the notepad said that configure trunk on the interface connecting the router. So we need to configure this interface. You see here, FA0/1 as trunk. Okay, so just go here and configure it as trunk. Okay, that's done. So we do the same for this side also. Remember, we need to create how many VLANs here? 2 VLANs. VLAN 30 for data and 31 for voice, and assign these 2 ports, this one and this one, both the VLANs. Okay, and this port will be trunk. So I'll do it very fast to save time, because I have demonstrated on this side. And do that. So we're done with the first phase, which was to configure switch ports for both data and voice VLANs and enabling trunk. So we go to each router, the 2 routers, and configure sub interfaces for the VLANs, for the inter VLANs. Okay, because we have 2 VLANs, data and voice. So what we do, we just go to this router and this router and do the same. So I just click here, and you see this interface is FA0/1. It's FA0/1 on this side, and also FA0/1 on the other side. So when I click on this router, how would we create sub interfaces? It's very simple. So what to do, we just say no, okay, then enable config T. Then how do you create sub interface? Remember, this interface is still down, so it's interface FA0/1. Okay, then just say no shut, exit. Now it's up. Now let's create sub interface for how many VLANs? For 2 VLANs, VLAN 10 and VLAN 11. So how do you create a sub interface? Just say interface FA0/1 dot 10 for VLAN 10. Okay, then we bind it to that VLAN, encapsulation dot 1Q10. Okay, then we assign it IP address as per this network. Just say IP add 10.10.10.1 with a separate mask of 255.255.255.0. Exit. That's done. Then we create a sub interface for voice. So encapsulation interface FA0/1.11 now, because you can see the voice VLAN is VLAN 11. Then encapsulation dot 1Q11 representing this number. Okay, then you assign it IP address. Just say IP add to be 192.168.90.90.1 255.255.255.0. Exit and do right. Good. So what to do? We do the same for this site. Okay, so I'll do it very fast this time, because I've demonstrated on this side. All right. All right, so we've done that. We've also done the same on this side. So that's done. Configuring sub interfaces, binding them to VLAN IDs, and sending them IP addresses. So good. So the 5th step is to create DCP pools for data and voice VLAN. So we go to this router and this one to create DCP pools for data and voice VLAN. So we start with the DCP pool for data. So just go there, I've clicked it, then say service DCP to enable that service. Okay, all right, so let's create pool IP DCP pool, then call it voice. Okay, that's it, enter. Then you specify the network. The network for voice, you can see it's 192.168.90.0 with separate mask of 255.255.255.0 and it enter. Then the default router should be the IP address of the sub interface that represented the voice VLAN. It was 90.1. Okay, so just say 192.168.90.1. okay, then for the case of for the case of voice VLAN, there's all additional command that's always called option 150. Option 150 is used for voice over IP functionality. Okay, then you just say IP address to represent the default router 192.168.10. .90.1. Good. Exit. Then let's create another pool for data now. Okay, so another pool for data will be IP DCP pool data. Just say data. Okay, all right. Then the network to be 10.10.10.10.0. Started mask of 255.255.255.0. Okay, then the default router will be the IP address of the sub interface that we created initially, that represented the voice, the data VLAN. Good. So it was 10.10.10.1. Good. Exit and do it. All right. So we do the same on this side. So I did very fast, save time. Okay, so that's done. So we can just go back here to check if the devices have picked IP addresses automatically, because we've configured the DHCP servers. Because if I try to hover these IP phones, you can see they've picked IP addresses. Even the computers, you can see they've picked IP addresses on this side. Okay, so when you go back to our notepad, you can see we are being told to configure telephony service. Okay, all right. So how do we configure telephony service? So I'll do it very fast, save time. So I'll just go on this router and just say enable config T. Then I minimize it to demonstrate so that you can see. All right. So to configure telephony service, just say telephony service. Then maximum number of earphones that we want. Let's say on site A we want only 10 IP phones. Okay, then maximum number of directory numbers should match the number of earphones. Okay, just say 10. Okay, then just say source IP source to match the IP address of the sub interface for voice data. Okay, it was 10. Sorry, the sub interface had IP address of 192.168.90.1. Okay, good. Then you just say port 2000 for data. Okay, for voice VLAN. Okay, all right, good. Then after this one, you just say auto assign from number 1 to 10, because we have how many IP phones? 10. Good. Alright, so after this one, what we can just do, we just allocate earphones the line number. So in this side, we want to allocate earphones line numbers of like 1001, 1002. So just say earphone DN directory number 1. Okay, then to have a line number of, just say number 1001. Sorry, number to be 1001. Exit. Then line number 2, after earphone directory number 2, to have a line number like that one. Okay, exit and do right. So I'll do the same on this side. We configure telephony service on this side and allocate IP phones dial numbers. Okay, all right. Alright, so after doing that, guys, there's another step that I didn't include here, which is all about OSPF. So 7.1 routing protocol to use OSPF. Good. So guys, you can see we have several routers. So for packets or traffic to move from this point to this point, then there should be routing protocol to enable that. Okay, so let's use OSPF. So I'm going to configure this interface, this one, this one, and this one. Okay, so for example, this one I'm going to configure 2020-2022. This one is 2020-2021. This one is 30-30-31 and 30-30-32/30. Okay, all right. So I'm going to do it very fast step time, because I believe you know how to configure IP addresses. Okay. All right. So we've done configuring IP address to the interfaces. So let's do OSPF. So we're going to advertise the directly connected network. So for example, on this router, we're going to advertise how many networks? 3. This network, and this network. On this router, this network, and this network. But for ISP router, we're going to advertise how many networks? Only this one and this one. So just go to the router here and configure OSPF. So what I'm gonna do, so we do it very fast this time, guys, because we have limited time here. So we just say exit router OSPF with the process ID of let's use 30. Okay, then the router ID to be let's say 3.3.3.1. okay, and we want to advertise how many networks? 20.20.20.0 0.0.0.3 area 0, and another network is 102.168.90.0 0.0.0.255 area 0, and finally another network is 10.10.10.0 255.255.255.0 area 0. Do right. So go to all other phones, all other routers, and configure OSPF very fast every time. Start with this one, advertise this one and this one also only. Okay, so we've done configuring OSPF, and I believe the neighbors have been formed, and you can see this router here has formed how many neighbors? 2 neighbors. Alright, so after configuring OSPF, then we should be able to communicate from this side to this side. So let's start with the computers first. So I'll just try to move over this one. You can see that it has picked 10.20.10.2. So I'm just going to ping 10 on this point, 10.20.10.2, and you hit oops, just try to ping. Yes, and we wait. If it pings, then it's fine. Then we try to call using IP phone. Okay, so there's a communication. So now let's try to call this IP phone to this IP phone. Remember, this is you can see the dial number. Just read the line number. It's 1002. This one is 1002, the line number under gateway. Then this one you can see it's 1001. Okay, so let's try to ping call from 1001 to 1002 first before we call outside. Okay, all right, so we just go to GUI here and try to call 1002 and call. You can see it's calling, and if you can just come to 1002, then to GUI you can see it's from 001. You can pick up and disconnect. Okay, all right, so let's try to ping from 1001 to this side. This side you can see it has a line number of 2002, and this one is 2001. So let's try to call 2001. You see, unknown number, because the default gateway here doesn't know how to reach this site. So that's why we have to configure dial pairing. So how do we configure dial pairing? We're going to configure dial pairing here and here. So I start with this router, which is site A router, and we configure dial pairing. So dial pairing we only configure for gateway routers. Okay, voice gateway. Okay, config T. All right. So how do you configure dial pairing? We just say dial pair. Okay, dial pair, then we give it a number. Let's say number 1. Okay, number 1 for VoIP, for voice over IP. VoIP, that's all, and just hit enter. Oh, sorry, dial pair. Oh, dial pair voice for voice, then number 1 for VoIP. You just say that, then you hit enter. Then here now you give the destination pattern. Okay, so the pattern of of destination is 2000. So here you just say destination pattern to be 2 ... So this one represents a value from 2000 to 2999. Okay, all right, and just you hit enter. Then here now we just say session target, then to be IPv4. we're using IPv4. Okay, or just create colon and write the default gateway of voice VLAN on this side. So the voice VLAN on this side has a default gateway of 192.168.100.1. So that's what you write here, 192.168.100.1. Very simple. Exit and do that. That's all about voice over IP. Enter, dial peer voice, give it a number from 1, then specify that it's a voice over IP, then give the destination pattern. So the destination line number start from 2001. So it can be 2001 to or 2999. Okay, that's why you can see me writing 2 ... Okay, all right. So let's go to the other router and try to configure dual peering. So also in this side, exit and do that. So guys, a moment we will go back here, we'll go back to this phone here. You see, enter, sorry. A moment we go back to this phone here and try now to call any phone on this side. So let's just try. And one, see, it's now calling because we've configured dial peering. So I'll just go to that phone. You can see it's here. You can see. All right. So dial peering basically is working. So you can see here that from 101 to 2001. This one is 2001 from 11, and you can just pick, and you see it's now connected. You hang up and try to call 1001 and call. You see it's calling, and you pick, now connected. So guys, basically, so I believe this video has really helped you know how to configure dial peering for IP phones. So what I just do, I'll mark that section as done. So when we meet next, let's start with firewall configuration. Please subscribe to this channel, like this video, share with friends, and let's see you again in the next class. Bye and thank you so much.